Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is having a happy holidays. I am filming this on the 25th, very late at night, 25th. So hope everyone's having a Merry Christmas and having a great holiday season. Um, and I hope everyone's safe and protected as well. I have been publishing reviews nonstop, so if you've been noticing a lot of reviews, as I said in one of my videos beforehand, there's going to be a lot of videos because I'm playing catch up and also seeing newer films coming out in 2020. And this is a new one. One that was, I believe, was supposed to be released back in like the summer. Not sure. And that is, of course, Pixar's Soul. Now, for those who are already asking, yes, I will be reviewing Wonder Woman 1984 as my next review. I just happened to watch Soul first before Wonder Woman, so I will be reviewing Wonder Woman 1984 as well. I'm just wanting to review this one first. Um, so, Pixar Soul. It is the latest from Pixar. It is also the latest from Pete Docter. And for those who don't know Pete Docter has directed several of Pixar's films. Just to familiarize myself once again on his pretty well, pretty great library of work from Pixar. Um, his first directorial effort with Pixar was, of course, Monsters Inc. He then went on to do a lot of other work within Pixar. His next one would be Up, which is an emotionally resonant story. Inside Out, which at the time I said, and I still say, is Pixar's boldest story that they have ever told, and their most ambitious story ever told. Um, and I think also Pete Docter's best work still. And now he returns again to the directing chair with Soul. So, what is Soul? Well, Soul is about a jazz musician who finally gets his big break, as he believes, and as one might expect with the name Soul, you may think, oh, it's going to be about discovering purpose, and it is about that. However, there's a little twist to it, as Pixar always does, which is that he actually dies, and that he eventually finds himself to be an actual soul, his own soul. And in order to return back to his physical form, he has to take on a mentorship with a newborn or a someone who is going to Earth for the very first time, and their adventure begins to getting this jazz musician back to his body, and along the way, of course, learning a valuable lesson. Um, so. Um, Going into this, I was extremely excited because I really love Pete Docter's work with Pixar. As I just said, to reiterate, Monsters Inc., Up, Inside Out. I think that he's brought some of the best work from Pixar. As I said just a moment ago, Inside Out, I think, is Pixar's most ambitious story yet. Um, and with the trailer of Soul, I was really interested to see how they were going to utilize this thematic concept. And I will say right off the bat that the best thing about Soul, in my personal opinion, is in fact the thematic concept. It is rich, it is telling, and it's rather emotional in all the right ways. Um, I found myself tearing up at one particular point in the film, and I think you'll know what I mean, where we ultimately get to seems weird, but we get to see ultimately what the purpose of the story is, and ultimately understanding what the movie is about, and that is rediscovering purpose in life and finding appreciation for life, and understanding the values of your life beyond your wants and needs. Um, and I think that the way it was told in this particular moment really got to me, and I was just bawling my eyes out. Just really was tearing up. Was really getting emotional. Um, the animation is top tier here. I mean, each film is progressively getting better and better in terms of their animation. They're really pushing the boundaries, and I think it's just top tier here. It is a gorgeous feast for the eyes. And I love the idea of the world as well. Once we enter the soul realm, I thought it was extremely fascinating to see how they worked this world, and just really putting a certain spin to the psychology of what a soul is and purpose and how personalities are brought about. I thought that that was extremely well handled and just incredibly investing and fascinating to really watch. And The score, I must add, is probably the best I've heard all year. It is tender, it is powerful, um, it hits all the right chords. And it's not just jazz music. I mean, I know that you're a jazz musician, you come to think it's about, jazz music, obviously, and there is, and those are quite nice. But again, these tender moments that they hit oh so well, not just from a narrative standpoint, but also from the score. Um, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, I think that's how you say their name, did the score, and my goodness, they do a great job with the score. It was a great, great score. Um, Speaking on the narrative, though, I will say, while the narrative, I will say, is predictable, it is you can kind of guess where it's going. It still hits as well as many other Pixar tales, because you do know where the story is going. You know how this is all going to eventually wrap up, but the journey to getting to said place was still as engrossing, I argue, as many other Pixar movies are. Um, but this film does have small points that did take me out of the story, um, which are really two things. First of which, and I think is the main problem with Soul, is that I think the pacing is rather choppy. Um, at a lot of points, felt like we were just kind of just getting along, like moving on rather quickly, and not really taking our time in investing certain elements. Like he dies rather quickly. I would have liked to have seen other elements play out before he dies, and I would have liked to have seen this revelation of him coming to understand his boundaries, where he is now, and understanding his, like, a little bit more of that development in those certain areas would have been a lot more beneficial towards the story, which leads to my other issue with the film, and that is that I think that it's needed more fleshing out, narratively speaking. Because besides development on character, I think that narratively speaking, its thematic purpose is so rich and so telling. But I also do think that in other small details within that thematic purpose, I think do need more fleshing out. Because I was reaching to the idea that I was talking about and becoming engrossed in it, but the other small details that they were presenting underneath it, I was not getting as invested, and I wish I was, because they were presenting them throughout the film, but I just wasn't getting as engrossed as I was with its main concept. Um, and another small thing, I found the ending to be a little quick. I think that the movie could have, in general, it kind of speaks to my whole issues with the film. I think that um, it could have been longer. It's like a solid 2 hours. I think it could have been longer, honestly. And it like just 15 more minutes, I think would have fit this film perfectly. Just to fill in to fill in the extra gaps. Um, but nevertheless, beyond those issues, this is still quite great for Pixar, and especially with what it's speaking on. Because remember, this is a kids' film. This is meant for kids. It just blows my mind what Pixar is speaking on throughout each of its films for kids to understand. Um, like Inside Out is about, about personalities. It's about moods. It's about how you feel on the inside and how that's represented on the outside as you see Inside Out. Um, and like Zootopia, it's about like discrimination, racism. It just blows my mind that these equality. That's another thing in Zootopia. It just blows my mind that these types of ideas are embedded within Pixar films. And now we are at Soul, which is taking itself to a much more rooted place, to a much more in-depth place, to a much more eternal place. And it, I think that they really executed something quite bold here and quite important, because while its direction feels rather familiar, because it's a very, very predictable story just on the basics of how it's structured, um, and its pace can become troublesome at some points. Beyond that, though, its heart and investment, I say, is as rich and as resonant as any other of Pixar's work, and presents, in my personal opinion, one of the studio's boldest stories and most important stories. And from a studio like Pixar, that's really saying something.